Alright, strap in because this is going to be a long one. This is the final for the second annual Kartoween at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. I am rolling out in position 10. I believe there are 20 karts in this race. On my pre-final video I stated that there were 18, but there really were 20. And it's a mix of LO206 junior, senior, and master's class karts. So we're heading out. It got a little more cloudy towards the end of the day in comparison to our pre-final footage. It's a little sunnier. I made a change on the rear end, widened it out a little bit. I'm going to find out once the race gets going that probably was not a good decision. It didn't really kill me or anything like that, but it definitely made the rear end a little looser. And it took I'd say about 2 or 3 laps before the tires heated up and I got a little better control of it. So we're coming around. As you've seen before, we are getting into the grid. I realize that we're going to start getting on the gas real soon, so I'm getting ready to get up on the 11. I don't want to get left behind because acceleration isn't instantaneous in these go-karts. But they waved off the green. I'm not sure everybody caught that. Some of the guys in the front seem to be taking off still, but then they flipped on those yellow lights. Now I'll explain this now. Not that yellow light, but this yellow light right here. When we came down and take the green on the next lap, when we come around, that yellow light is still going to be blinking. And it somewhat threw me off. It threw the guy off in front of me. We laid off just for a second and then realized that nobody's slowing down. And we got back into the gas. Things were kind of stretched out at that stage. I don't think it made a giant difference because in an 18-lap race, which is what this was, everything gets pretty well spread out over that period of time. But again, we're coming down. We're lined up. Everybody scrubbed their tires pretty well. And we're about ready to take off. I didn't make any gear changes. Like I said, the only thing I did was widen the rear end a little bit. Everybody stays in line. Nobody darts around. A couple of guys in the front start to move out so they can take this corner full blast. We get down here. As you can see, that the yellow light right here is turned off. None of these are on. As you come around this corner, that yellow light's going to be on. The 23 is going to raise his hand because he thinks something's up. We both slack off a little bit. Not a ton. Everybody's still kind of bunched up. So we get up there, but we're still kind of lollygagging right now. And then we realize, hey, everybody's going, so we get back into it. We're gonna mostly catch up to the group, but odds are we could have still been up in the mix with those guys, possibly, if we'd have kept our foot into it. So now we're out in single file. As you can see, again, we are in. I've got the forward-facing and rear-facing cams. There's a lot of action behind me in this race. I knew at least one person was behind me. I didn't know I had what's going to be 2 or 3 people right behind me for a good chunk of this race. The 318, I think he might have changed gears. I don't remember for sure. But he's pretty fast on this go-around. He's faster than he was in the pre-final by roughly about 0.4 of a second, I think. Granted, that's going off of everybody's fast lap. You're not doing your fastest lap every lap. You either have traffic or you might hit something a little bit wrong. But his fastest lap ended up being roughly about 0.4 to 0.5 seconds faster than his pre-final fastest lap. Me, with the changes I made on the rear end, I was basically about the same. I was 1/10 slower, which, with the 318 getting faster, he didn't really have a whole lot of trouble blowing by me right now. But I get off the gas and let him kind of go, and you see how fast the 222 closed up on me and went right around me. I was shocked when that happened. And I don't remember if that's 311 or 331. Unfortunately, in my editing software, I can't make out those numbers that well because the screen's a lot smaller. Looks like it might be 311. He's going to be hanging around behind me for a while. Well, he gets in front of me, so it's the 311 now that I see him. He kind of slides it out right there. He loses it a little bit. He loses some momentum. I'm able to come through here with a pretty good head of steam. And I'm going to pass him right on back. That's one of the junior drivers. So I don't know what the age range is on a junior driver. I know their karts are lighter. I have a feeling they're like in the 12-year-old range. But feel free to drop a comment in there if you know what the age grouping is. Might be like 12 to 14 or something. I'm not 100% sure. But the 222 in front of me is one of my Racing for Vets teammates. He's new this season, but he's picking it up pretty well. And he got me out right there. But I'm closing back in on him a little bit. But I've got the 311 hot on me, and then one of my arch nemesises from the OVKA. I've got the 89 coming up behind me. I think at the very start, another arch nemesis was right behind me, the number 32. So I'm always battling it out with those guys. But I kind of like, hey, we got a little bit of leaves floating around in the footage. Nice fall day. The trees are pretty. Again, this track is relatively smooth. It might look bumpy, but it doesn't really feel too bad. I believe they've got some improvements coming in the off-season. I don't know what they are specifically, but I believe they're expanding the track. And they're potentially repaving it. I'm not 100% sure. They run a lot of two-stroke chassis and two-stroke karts on this track. If you're really into this and you want to, the track is the Motorsports Country Club track. So they've got a good setup there. If if you're really serious about getting into go-karting, I'm sure this is a good way to go about it. But again, I've closed back up on the 222. 222 he had to do a lot of mechanical work on his kart to make it to the final. He had a rough practice, but he was able to overcome with some teammate help, and he's running pretty strong right now. I bump him a little bit here, but coming down through here, I back off just a hair. I don't like being right on somebody through that section because it's kind of rough, and he kind of loses. And you see, he does pop back in with no issues. When I went past him, I thought maybe he was going to spin out, but he got it back under control. He falls back in line, but he lost about 3 positions. So I keep gaining a little on those two, on the 311 and the 89, and then I lose a little, gain a little, lose a little. Up in front, I don't really have anything going on in front of me. I'm just trying to bust out fast laps, not make any errors, and don't just do dumb things that let people run right on past me. Which, it's easier said than done when you're doing this. This is a pretty long race. We're getting to, I'd venture to say we are not even at the halfway point yet. This will be my last race of the season. After this, it's kart teardown time. Replenish some of your parts that you might have busted or worn out over the season, and start prepping for the next season. I think I mentioned in one of my other videos, but as far as breakage, things along those lines, I had a very good season. I didn't break anything. Didn't have any hubs break off, nothing like that. Nothing broke on my kart. I didn't replace anything. I think right at the end of the season, we did have an issue with some pinch bolts on one of our hubs, and it kind of screwed it up. So we did, now that I think about it, we did have to switch out hubs, but it was something we already had. in our parts bin, so it was all good to go. Didn't have to spend any money on it. The Hoosiers held up pretty well. I went through about 2 sets. Honestly, I don't think I ever personally put any laps on any brand new sets. I was able to use, the KA100s will use they'll kind of cook through the rubber a little faster, and sometimes I would just use what they had mounted if they had the wider 7.1s on the back. And I felt like running them. If they didn't look too worn out, I'd just throw them off. Keep watching the rear cam, the rear facing cam. You see the 311 and the 89 keep battling it out back there. 311, he's creeping back up on me. And again, just looking out the back, it really gives you a good perspective on what the effect of your turns are and how somebody can catch up with you, just based on you not hitting something correctly, or them just doing a really, really good job. And you can look back and see how they took something that just might be an improvement on what you're doing. But the 311 did not really touch me much, so I never felt like I was holding them up. And in reality, he's staying right there. He's not bumping me much. I'm sure he would if he could, because on these long straightaways, it does help to get right up on the bumper and give somebody a little bump. Helps you both out. You both end up going a little bit faster. So he tried to drag me right here. He didn't get close enough for me to really see that, so I didn't concede any position, and I took that high-speed left as if nobody was there. Right now, I'm driving around in what would be 5th place for the Masters division. And you'll see some carts here or there on the side of the road. There was a little attrition in this race. I think one of the guys right up front, I don't know if he lost a chain. I think he loses a little bit later in the race. But, he had some issues. I can't tell. I'm going to have a rough little go of it here pretty soon, but it might be on the next lap. Nope, it was right there. I got the bump and the push. 311. I can't really tell. I'd have to rewind it and look at it frame by frame. But, when he kind of got into me, he didn't really back off, or he hit me right in a bad spot. But around I went, and I was able to get underway. He got stuck up on the berm over there. And right at the exact time that happened, as you saw the 222 go by, if you watch it in slow-mo, he had his hand up as he was going through that corner, because I believe his gear just blew apart. So not only did his chain fall off, but the gear just busted all to pieces too. So he pulls off off into the grass and gets out of the way of everything. And in reality, I believe only one cart went past me, although it looked like it was worse. I don't know, maybe a couple more went by. It's hard to tell when you're sitting there. You're just hoping that nobody runs into you, because I was sitting right at a very bad position for people coming out of that corner. So now I popped up and I've got the 111 in front of me. You've seen this cart in other videos, but we've got a different driver. Usually the person driving the 111 is the son, and this is his dad driving the 111 right now. He's done a decent amount of rental cart racing and things like that. I don't think he's done a whole lot in like a sanctioned race like this, or club race. But he's doing pretty good. I think he's driving around in about, right now he's in 6th place for the Masters group. And I'm pretty sure we had about 10 to 12 drivers in the Masters group. So he's doing pretty good. He's right in the middle for the first time I've seen him out driving one of these. And his son's been racing with the club that the OVKA, for at least, I think, the 3 or 4 years that I've been there. And this is the first time I've seen the father driving in a race. So he's doing pretty good. Good enough that I was not able to just blow around him, and I don't want to run him over. I don't really have anybody bearing down on me. The 311, it took him longer to get off that berm back there than, so he's back. He's gapped out the back pretty good. So he's not breathing down my neck. Now I'm just trying to get around the 111. And I'm getting some good footage for him. He usually posts up videos on YouTube, so if you look up Rob Moosel, he's got some videos out there. I almost get him right here. Actually, I think I do get him. You know, maybe it's the next one. It's not this lap. I didn't want to try going through there too wide. It could get a little bit hairy. You're going pretty fast when you're going down through. Pretty sure I was hitting the rev limiter as I approached the downward portion of that little zigzag area. Yeah, I don't get by him here either. Again, I'm trying, and he's trying to hold me off because this is for position. So if I get around him, he goes to 7th place. Where right now he's in 6th. He's right in the middle, doing well. I kind of set out wide so I could cut down in on it right here, and we're side by side coming down through here. Can't really see him in either because we're actually exactly side by side, but I kind of had a good decent line going in. I was gonna drive over the berms and stuff, and he just kind of backed off. So we're getting down to the end of it. I think we got about maybe 2-3 laps to go. Again, I'm going to do one of those deals where I'm driving along because there's not a lot going on around me. Yeah, I lose a little concentration, and it's generally on this corner coming up right up here. I'll forget, oh, I got to turn, and I'll hit it super wide. I didn't do it on this lap. But it's coming up. But anyways, I might next year look into doing a few more races at this track. They've got their Pro-Am series, which I don't think it's not a large amount of races. It's a good, good solid amount. I think it's a seven race series. Maybe it might be more, a little bit less next year. I don't know. And I think it's going to be on their improved track. So it's something to look forward to. It's relatively affordable. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of experience with going to a bunch of different races here and there, but I think the pricing falls in line with the amount you pay to go to an OVKA race. And it's usually a one-day affair. I know if the Buckeye Karting Challenge is fun to do, but it's a longer weekend. It's a bigger commitment. Here's where I go way too wide. Look how wide I'm out. And then he just comes right back in the picture. And when I did that, I'm like, oh, come on, man. Get your stuff together. The guy standing on the side right back there, his chain came off, went all the way down the axle and completely wedged itself into the caliper. And I think it just completely locked up his rear axle. He just slid right off the track right there because it wasn't turning anymore. And he was in one of the hardest crashes I've ever seen. I think it's like the Saraland race. It's one of those ones where you're driving through what looked like city streets with hay bales on the side, going 60, 65 miles an hour. And he got really popped in one of those. I recognized his name and said his foot still hurt. So I think we're on the second to the last lap. Pretty boring from here on out. I see the I can't remember what the I think it's the number 2 red card up here. So I'm trying to get him before the end of the race. I don't really know what position he's in because I had my little spin. I couldn't tell who's where necessarily and who went past me. So I didn't know if I was coming around to put a lap on him or if he was ahead of me and I'm trying to catch him. I'm trying to get every position I can get back. So I'm going hard. So this is, I believe, was that the checker? Yep, that was the checker. I didn't catch him, but I gave it all I could get, and it turns out he was actually a lap down. So catching him wouldn't have changed my position. So anyways, that is probably going to be it unless I do a dirt track race out at my buddies, which I might do this weekend. So those are usually some pretty interesting videos, and actually the guy right here in this red go-kart, he will be at the dirt track thing if I go. He's got a pretty strong dirt kart, and that's where he's done most of his karting, so he does well out in the dirt. So anyways, I guess maybe I'll almost sign off for the season. Who knows, maybe we'll see something more, but have a good one and get out on the track.